Good morning, Minneapolis. Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to Onsite Public Media's Good Morning Minneapolis. I am your host today, Toussaint Morrison, and today is Friday, April 23rd. A happy Friday to you, happy Friday to you, and a happy Friday to you too. Today, in obvious news, former police officer of Brooklyn Center, Kim Potter, has still not been brought up on murder charges for murdering Dante Wright. Speaking of Dante Wright, Senator Amy Klobuchar spoke at Dante Wright's funeral just yesterday and said this, quote, "Driving while black should not result in getting shot." With that being said, we'd also like to inform Amy Klobuchar that breathing while black should not result in being locked up for 18 years for no reason. Amy, psst, you did that. You locked up a black man for 18 years for no reason, just in case you didn't get it. Okay, bye. Tweets and emails flooded in from major elected officials such as Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey to speak on the fresh conviction of former police officer Derek Chauvin. Frey writes, "George Floyd came to Minneapolis to better his life, but ultimately his life will have bettered our city." What the did he just say? If you're thinking that Frey just made George Floyd to sound like some type of sacrificial lamb, you're not alone. That was a weird tweet. Who says, yeah, man, we really weren't planning on doing better until George Floyd showed up and, was murdered by one of our officers, and now we really plan on holding ourselves to a higher standard? How, after going through a year of a media storm, do you not know how to put some respect in George Floyd's name? Maybe you could just call yourself out for allowing Derek Chauvin to still be on the force. Yes, you, Jacob Frey, allowed Derek Chauvin to be on the force. Yes, the mayor of Minneapolis has the power to fire officers or just relegate them to desk work. Frey never did that with Derek Chauvin, even though Chauvin had killed several other people while on duty and shot 2 other people, and they survived while on duty as well before he murdered George Floyd. And another little thing we like to add in from our friends down at Communities United Against Police Brutality, all the prior incidents of deadly force that Derek Chauvin was involved with were against people of color. And if you work for the PR team for Jacob Frey, we'd like to just throw in a little, film zhuzh, if you will. Here it goes. Jacob Frey, running for re-election. He gets it wrong most of the time. All of the time. And Jacob Frey wasn't alone. Governor Tim Walz threw in his 2 cents, sending out an email to people with the Walz Flanagan logo atop saying this: "Today's verdict is an important step forward for justice in Minnesota. The trial is over, but our work has only begun." Oh, the work has just begun, eh? Wow, I thought the work started when Minnesota voted you in. Here's an alternative headline that Walz can use. Black people can rest assured now that old white man has told them the racial equity work starts today. Walz continues. "Our communities of color cannot go on like this. Our police officers cannot go on like this. Our state simply cannot go on like this. And the only way it will change is through systemic reform." Oh, it was going on like that, and it was going to keep going on like that, just all well and fine and business as usual, had a black person not filmed the modern day lynching of a black man at the hands of the Minneapolis Police Department. And speaking of cameras, do you notice how many camera angles they used in the trial? There was the one from Dragon Walk. There was the body cam that was on Thomas Lane. There was even the camera way high up next to the Speedway sign that nobody ever saw. Where there's a Speedway, there's surveillance. For your protection, hopefully. But the one camera that brought about accountability was the one camera that was not bought by the state. So, what does this all mean? Now that the Derek Chauvin trial is over, he's been found guilty on all 3 charges, murder 2, murder 3, manslaughter 2. What does this mean for the future of the city? Well, like this one person points out on Twitter, let's give them their flowers. The Lazy Boy store in Edina can now take down the boards off of its windows. It also means that the people that hired Derek Chauvin, paid Derek Chauvin, and worked with Derek Chauvin, aside from the 3 killer cops that are going to be on trial in the next few months, are still working in Minnesota. What this also means is that police will point at Chauvin just like old white audiences point at plays about slavery at the Guthrie and say, "How far we have come. How far we have come." And something fascinating happened in this case, something truly fascinating, and where cops testified against a former cop. That does not usually happen. Take, for example, a case stemming from July 15th, 2017, where former Minneapolis police officer Mohammed Noor shot and killed Justine Damon. Now, to give you context on how cops usually don't separate themselves or just go silent in the case of a killer cop being on trial, this is what the Strib wrote. The feud intensified last year when Freeman's office began subpoenaing dozens of officers involved in the Damon shooting, claiming that they refused repeated requests to provide statements, acting on the advice of union lawyers. Ah, the old police union, you don't say. Well, I wonder what the police union president had to say about cops taking the stand to testify. The Strib continues. Police union president Lieutenant Bob Kroll scoffed at the suggestion that officers have been less than straightforward with prosecutors. Quote, "That's an easy sweeping statement to make and without some concrete hard evidence, which they won't find in this case," unquote, said Kroll. Unlike redlining, that statement didn't hold up for long, as Mohammed Noor was found guilty of murder 3. Oh, Bobby. Look, when cops go on trial for murder or something less than that, usually when they call in other cops to testify against them, they resist or they hide behind union lawyers or they just hide behind the blue wall of silence. So, how did the blue wall of silence hold up in the Chauvin trial? Not well at all. Chief Arredondo and several other officers testified against Derek Chauvin for the prosecution, and this is what Arredondo had to say.
So is it your belief then that this particular form of restraint, if that's what we'll call it, in fact violates departmental policy?
I absolutely agree that violates our policy.
As I said before, Chief Arredondo, between a badge and a white place, black police chief officer in an overwhelmingly white state. Here he is code switching the code switch in the court. And I'm gonna help translate as I did before. Here we go.
And I mentioned the thousands of calls that our men and women respond to. It is my firm belief that the one singular incident we will be judged forever on will be our use of force.
Look, man, we get thousands of calls every day. Thousands, dog, okay? We killed a guy one time. What? We killed a guy one time, just the one time. You gonna hold that on me now? Come on, man. Did you see me helping those people exchange insurance information after that car crash? No. Did you see me helping that escaped house cat get out of the tree? No. We out here. Thousands of calls. We murder one guy. Come on, ref. He pushed him. I didn't even touch him. Petty ass. So, what does that mean for the future of the blue wall of silence? Well, we had the privilege to sit down with defense attorney Eric Bain and ask him, and this is what Eric Bain had to say. Now that that's obviously not silent in this case, do you think that that will change, the culture of law enforcement going forward?
No.
No? Why not?
I wish I could say otherwise.
Yeah.
Personally, I think, the men and women in blue just kind of decided we got to throw this guy under the bus to save ourselves.
Which brings us to the end. Brings us right to the end. What is justice to you? Is it the same as accountability? Did George Floyd get justice? Think about that. Put those in the comments below so people can hear. We'd also like to point out something that Tim Walz and Mayor Fry and many other elected officials did not say. They did not say this on Tuesday of this week. They did not say what John Gordon, the executive director of the ACLU, said, which is today, meaning Tuesday, was the first day that a white officer was held accountable for killing a black person in the state of Minnesota. What does this mean? This means that we have a long history of white police officers not being held accountable for killing black people. That'll do it for us here at Onsite Public Media's Good Morning Minneapolis. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to become a member, the link is below. We love y'all, and we're gonna get to the rest of everything that's going on in the country in the next episode. And we just can't thank y'all enough for tuning in. And as you already know, our work is never, ever, 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 ever done.